Okay, wait, that's a lie. This video is coming up at 3 p.m. So good afternoon, it's morning over here. So welcome to another video. Today I'm going to share a recipe. It's been a minute. Ziggy is here to make himself known. Yes, I am going to be sharing a recipe. It's been a while since I shared one of those, especially with the moving and you know the situation. So this past week on my Instagram I posted on stories where I was making crepes for breakfast, and guys were like, please share a recipe. So that's what we are going to do this morning. That's what we'll be having for breakfast because it's like 11 a.m. right now. The cool thing about this, you probably already have everything in your house because it needs very simple ingredients. You just need water and milk, or just milk, all-purpose flour, some oil, cooking oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, you know I'm a fan of sunflower oil, some eggs and salt, and probably a bit of sugar. And then you can serve them with fresh fruits and a bit of honey, agave, maple syrup, whatever tickles your fancy. So we are going to make some crepes. Ziggy, move. Also, I prefer using a non-stick pan for doing this. I feel like they work a lot better. This is the one I'm using. I got this, where did I get this pan? I bought it at a exhibition. I think it was an exhibition at Sarit Center. But the other ones, the black ones, Tefal, even this is Tefal. I got those ones from Carrefour. So in case anyone's interested or wondering where they can find some nice non-stick. Also try when they have sales because the price is a lot lower. One of the other things I would insist you make sure you have when you are doing this recipe is a measuring cup for a quarter. 1 cup of milk. We're using 4 eggs. Let me put, this is a quarter cup measuring thing. It's like 62 ml it says. So see, it has even feathers because fun things. See, so we have 4 eggs, and then you can have a fresh fruit of your choice, of your choosing. We have salt over here, and then I will do a bit of sugar. Like if you're not going to use honey or whatever, it always helps to have like just a hint of sugar, very little, not a lot. You don't have to do. Sugar is definitely optional. I prefer to have just 1 tablespoon. And then you want oil. So you know me, I am a sunflower oil girl. So I have this, and then I have a brush that I use to oil my pan. So I use this, and then I use oil that's in a large container. This is the oil. Oh, sorry. This is the oil. So this is the oil I'm going to use with the brush to knead the pan. But you need very little. So let's get started. We will start with the unga. You can sift it if you want to. I don't want to today. And today I'm doing the Madagodanyo one. You remember I like taking the tablespoon, putting it here, leveling it, and then doing that. I'm not that bothered, so I'm just picking. I've just scooped it like this, then I'll return the excess and just take it like that. So we are using 1 cup of unga. Did I say 1 cup? 2 cups. Sorry. Do eggs. Let me put my salt. I prefer putting salt with the dry ingredients. So that's the amount of salt I'm using. And then my tablespoon of sugar. That's a tablespoon. Just mix this in. And then now we'll just do like a hole down the middle. Then you just go in with the eggs. I'm using 4 eggs. Oops. So I'm going to mix this in first with a whisk. I like my mix to be very light, because the lighter it is, the easier it is to spread. Then I add, you can do, it's like about 2 tablespoons of oil. So this is so that you don't need a lot of oil on the pan, so it just cooks from within basically. And then start adding the milk pole pole. Oops. So I'm going to mix this in first with a whisk. I like my mix to be very light, because the lighter it is, the easier it is to spread. Then I add, you can do, it's like about 2 tablespoons of oil. So this is so that you don't need a lot of oil on the pan, so it just cooks from within basically. And then start adding the milk pole pole. I do like half of it first. Well, that's more than half. And then just mix that in, because at first it will be like a heavy pancake mix, and then now you add the other bit of the water or milk. If you're going you're doing half and half, then you add water. If you are going all milk, then you add milk. So I like to add it in stages, the liquid that is. I feel like it helps with the lumps. So like you see, it's very smooth. So I'm going to add my water at this point. It will probably be, again, a cup. I've used the rim where the milk was. Then just pour half of that. So the lighter, the better.
Pay off.
Because also it helps with the movement in the pan. You want it to be able to move once you pour it in the pan. So yeah, I think this is okay. Yeah, if you feel, once you do the first one and you feel like it's not moving as you please, you just add water. So we'll keep our water here. You can even have that in there. Now, the reason I told you need this is because the amount of whatever that fills up this will make 1 crepe to spread on this size of a pan. So if you have a smaller pan, then you can use a lot less. So we are going to now start the fire and then get started on the cooking. One of the other things I have is this brush. It's those brushes you use for, what's it called? For when you're cooking, to do an egg wash. So that's the one I'm using. A silicone one would be better because this one is slightly burnt over here. The heat, you want it to be not high, not all the way. So you're using the high stove, but you don't want it to be all the way high. You want it to be like the space between medium high and high. Then I have my oil. As soon as I can open it. So just dip this kidogo and then remove as much of it as you can, and then you just brush the pan very lightly. This helps with the ease of movement of that. So this is our first one. Our first one can fail, don't worry, if the unga is too, if our mixture is too thick. Then I usually pour in the middle and then turn it in like in a consistent direction away from the heat. Yeah, I think we will need slightly loosen it up just a bit. That's our first one. Not bad for a first one. I'll loosen this up just a bit. I won't add the whole amount of water that I had left, just like half that portion, just to loosen it up a bit as that one is cooking. Use a silicone spatula. They're not the best for these metallic ones are not the best. So this first one is the one you use to confirm you can regulate the heat. You want the thingy, you want the crepe to brown, so you can tell this is cooked but it didn't brown. So I'll increase my heat again, just slightly. I've put it on high. Let's see how high that will go, because also as you start cooking, as the pan gets hotter and hotter, then it might take a lot less time to cook. So it usually takes about like 2 minutes to cook both sides. It's like a minute on each side. So let's just turn that again. I always like to at least have one side that's completely brown, but you also don't want to burn it and have it like completely, what's the word, very crispy on the edges, because the edges end up being like the thinnest bits of this, depending on how well your mixture moves. So let's see, I feel like this is browning pole pole, but this is still cool. The first one is always a taste tester, just to confirm that your mix is fine. I always like to fold mine in the pan before I place them. So just fold it in half and then fold it into a quarter. You can tell the unga was heavy because it's supposed to fold very lightly. It shouldn't break. So that means, yes, my mixture was heavy. So I've added some water. We should be a lot better now. We'll keep that one as our first one. And then it's time to do the second. I feel like I've added the rest of the water. So it's now just 1 cup water, 1 cup milk. Okay, again, first I always test to see if it has any oil. And then I also like to oil it from like up here. Again, pick our mix. It's a lot lighter now. Pour in the middle as you turn. See, this one turned a lot easier and faster. If you can get it to be like an even level, ooh, sorry, almost burnt myself. If you can get an even coating, even better. But 90% of the time it will still be larger in the middle. And I'm still gonna taste the first one because that's what it's for. Also, when they sit, they loosen up. Now you see this one has browned vizuri. So when do you know it's time to turn it? When the surface on the other side, before we turned it, when it's like a matte, it has this matte look, that means the crepe has cooked through. And the second side doesn't take as long to cook because it's already halfway cooked in. So we can fold it. I don't mind when it's just one side that's like browned, because only one side is thin. Oh, okay, I like the way that looks. I was looking which side I want to be facing up. And then I fold, remove, and set aside. Then we'll just continue like that until we finish with all of them. So I like to make sure I turn this off the heat. That way it's not like burning the portions that have already touched the pan. You're just using the heat that's already on the pan. That's one of the tricks that I use. So as it's attaching to the pan, it's using the heat on the pan and not the heat on the stove. For these last three, I'm not adding any oil to the pan, so you see the difference between doing it with a bit of oil and with no oil on the pan, because this is a non-stick pan. So you can also make them if you are someone who doesn't like a lot of oil and you only use the oil you put in the batter. That's what they will look like. I personally prefer adding oil to the pan, just a little bit, because I feel like it does something extra. See? So I'll show you the ones that didn't have oil and the ones that did. It's just this last three. So for this ones, it's just basically the same thing. The only difference is, will this be? Okay, let's pour this from the container straight into the pan. The same technique, the only difference is I did not oil the pan at all. They will cook like pancakes. So you'll see the tiny bubbles, you can see them popping. So if you're someone who is struggling with reducing oil intake and such, you can also just use a non-stick pan and no oil other than the oil you add in the batter, which isn't a lot of oil, but it can still cook. Let's flip them. They're not the easiest to flip as well. They do brown very well, but I feel like they look very flat without character, because oil adds character to them in a way. But it's about health. You don't need character, you're fine. So they are all brown, like it's a consistent browning. So let's switch off the stove. And then we will assemble our meal. You can see them. This is what they look like. They are very brown. It's a consistent browning. They don't have any pockets of, this is what I mean when I say character. They have pockets, they have like different browning elements, different levels of browning. So I like this. But if you're like maybe thinking of it in terms of like health purposes and stuff, you can also have them like this. These ones are not as easy to flip as this ones because of the lubrication of the oil. But if you're using a non-stick pan, you should still be able to have decent crepes. So that's just basically you get two options that you can play around with. So let me show you how I like to, we have this over here. Let me show you how I like to serve my crepes. So you can organize them whichever way you want. You can line them up like that. You can scatter them around like that. But I feel like always lining them up is always like a cool idea. And then you take your fruit, whichever fruit you're using. I am using fresh bananas that have ripened vizuri. So you always want like a sweet fruit because remember they don't really have sugar. So you want to add an element of sweetness with the toppings that you use. Strawberries are really good because they also add a visual element in terms of color. You can use, again, I said maple syrup, any kind of syrup you want. You can use actual syrup. I'm using honey, so just how I like to drizzle my honey, I use a fork. So I swirl my fork in the honey, lift for a bit, and then just come and drip. And this is just for visual purposes, and just powder on top like this. You can also do the powder before you do the honey so that it leaves the streaks in, but I noticed that whichever you go with first, the honey will soak up the powdered sugar. So and you are ready to serve. So basically that's how I prepare this delicacy. It serves very well for breakfast. You can have it as a snack. You can also, like you see the way we've served with the bananas, you can actually also open it up and then put the bananas like on one side and then fold it and serve it like that. That way when someone cuts through it, they cut through that. You can also use like cream cheese, then add your fruit. So it's basically you can serve this up whichever way you want. And what I like about it is whether you're a sweet or savory kind of person, you will enjoy this because it's about the pairings that you add onto them. I personally love them. I hope you have picked up on a tip or 3 or 6 on how you can make your crepes better, and I'm hoping when you make them you're gonna tag me so that I'm sure that my tips are working. Not subscribed, kwanza if you've watched it, nilisikia shaming works. So if you have watched the video till this part of this video, you've watched the entire recipe. This is not the first time you're seeing this face. You've come back on several occasions and you've still not subscribed. What more do you want? I feed you, I make jokes, I make you laugh, I tell you cool stuff, I give you tips. See, it's like we just make it official. Subscribe. See you on Thursday with a new video. Nick will be joining us on Thursday for the video. He's about to join us right now for breakfast. Remember when people used to try and eat their food in making like clothes out of food? I remember. Oh, Zig is here. Hey babes, here.